I think it's fair to say that the last couple of months hasn't been good for PC gaming. I mean, we've had product stagnation, price increases, and AI, and more AI, and it's left a lot of us questioning where PC gaming is actually going. I mean, if you wanted to build a brand new gaming PC today, what used to cost $100 now costs well over $300. You can literally buy an Xbox Series S for the same cost as DDR5 memory. And the whole thing is so stupid because nothing has changed. This is the exact same product, it's tiny, it's not the most significant nor interesting bit of your gaming PC, but this is quite literally stopping people getting into the hobby. So what I wanted to explore in this video was what this problem is, whether it does mean that PC gaming is literally off the table, or if actually, despite the fact that there are very much some bad things going on right now, that PC gaming is maybe in a little bit of a brighter spot than you might think. Sounds interesting, right? Stay tuned to learn absolutely everything you need to know right after a short word from this video's sponsor. Corsair's RM 2025 series of power supplies have arrived, with top-notch power delivery and cool and quiet performance. Available in 750, 850 and 1000 watts, these units are suitable for almost any rig, and now come with a native 600 watt capable cable for super clean builds with NVIDIA GPUs. Best of all, the new cable design oozes luxury, looking super high-end but without the price tag. Learn more about Corsair power supplies today with a link down below. I think the best place to start this off then is going to be addressing the elephant in the room. What on earth is going on with pricing? I think it's fair to say that we were all very confused at first, when certain memory kits starting to jump up wildly, and we're currently sitting at RAM costing between £300 and £400 a dollars just for a standard 32GB memory kit. The reason for this jump is due to the price of the memory modules themselves. Just as you find with graphics cards, the RAM stick manufacturers buy in the critical components and then assemble them, and if the memory price increases overnight, you have to raise the prices to maintain the margin. And it's worth noting that this process isn't actually anything new. RAM kits you'll usually find would be on sale, and some would be like $10, $15 more than other kits. And this was because this process, as I say, is normal. It happens all of the time. But unfortunately, when this hits the entire industry and everyone has to massively raise their prices, well, you end up in the situation we're in now. So that's the situation, but who do we have to blame for this? Well, we have our good old friend artificial intelligence, or AI, to thank for this increase, as huge companies have bought up allocation of RAM production years in advance on such a scale that there's relatively little memory going spare for consumer modules. This is then compounded by the constant bidding war to buy up that allocation at even higher prices. AI demands masses of RAM, AI companies need results for their investors, and it's a war to the top, with poor old PC gamers fighting over scraps. But hang on a minute, I've got a solution. Why don't we all just band together, start a new factory, produce some memory, sell it at massive prices, and we're all golden, we're all rich. If only it was that simple. Unfortunately, you need a new fab or fabrication plant in order to make these memory modules, and they don't cost thousands, they don't cost tens of thousands, they don't even cost millions. Probably over $10 billion just to start a fab, and it would take 3 to 5 years at least to get this set up, and by then the memory crisis might be over. Maybe we'll have to stick to that lemonade stand. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am afraid that leaves us with these inflated RAM prices for a long while yet. Best case, maybe we see some slight drops later this year, but realistically, this isn't a problem that's going to be going away anytime soon, and it could even get worse before it gets better. And speaking of worse, unfortunately, memory isn't just used in sticks of RAM, it's also found in graphics cards as well. Now, at the moment, things are stewing, not at crisis point, but it may well evolve and start to crank up throughout the year if shortages hit the vendors. And you can probably forget about those 50 series supers for the foreseeable future. Oh, and sorry to be the bearer of yet more bad news, but unfortunately the same thing is starting to happen with SSD storage. Remember when these were cheap, you could buy a terabyte for like £55 a dollars? Not anymore! Not that the 990 Pro was ever that price, but SSD storage in general is getting very expensive. And this, along with the RAM crisis, is made even worse by the fact that Micron and their Crucial brand is actually exiting the consumer memory game, which leaves even less competition and options available for PC gamers to choose from. But maybe all of this is a good thing. I mean, after all, we've all seen Monty Python. What has AI ever done for us? Is it a long list of things? Well, you can bet your bottom dollar that Jensen Huang would say yes. With AI helping gamers to access higher frame rates with DLSS, developers can use artificial intelligence to create more detailed and feature-rich worlds, all whilst taking less time, and the game engines themselves can theoretically become more advanced, potentially self-aware, as time goes on. I'll add, by the way, that DLSS has just been updated to version 4.5, with their transformer model 2.0 once again increasing image quality to potentially better than native, never heard that before, whilst running higher frame rates with lower latency. Fantastic. But they have also just announced dynamic frame gen with up to 5 AI frames per rendered frame, which is probably going to be bad, bearing in mind that even 3x was notably wavy and artifacty. And this is the point in the video where my script just says, rant about AI, and I'm more than happy to do that, because the problem is, and the way I think most people are feeling, is that all of this money, all of this effort is going towards AI, and they kind of like give us a few scraps. They're like, oh, don't worry about massive gen-on-gen improvements, don't worry about pricing, because we can just slap AI and give you a higher frame rate in your fraps, wow, that was a long time ago, in your frame rate counter, and boom, everyone's happy. There we go, 300 frames a second, done. That's the way I think a lot of us feel, and it's tricky to know, because what would have happened if there was no AI development whatsoever? What if we just had, well, like a modern day GTX 680 or something that was just all about rasterization? Would we actually be in a better spot? I don't know the answer to that, because I'm a big fan of super resolution DLSS, but not really a massive fan of frame generation. And I know that's pretty much what a lot of people feel, but you need to have the development in tandem with the better rasterization performance. So if you're just going to massively increase prices and massively increase like AI, but then barely increase the actual gen-on-gen improvement, then I think it's fair to say that a lot of people are going to feel miffed, even if you can put out these game trailers that show 300 frames a second on a card that, let's be honest, cannot do 300 real frames a second. Oh, and we haven't even talked about ray tracing yet either. Everything has ray tracing, great. This is how your game is going to be so much better than before. Here's these great demos, and they can look fantastic, but ultimately, all we want is a fantastic looking game that is very well optimized. And we point towards something like Horizon Forbidden West, runs very, very well on PC, doesn't have any ray tracing implementation. Not saying it doesn't need it, but clearly it doesn't need it. Oh, and at this point, folks, you'll be glad to know that the fun news doesn't even end there, with our good old friend Stagnation well and truly alive and well. Last year saw Intel Core Ultra CPUs improve to the point that they're now similar to the previous gen, which was similar to their previous gen, fantastic, and AMD refreshed their motherboard platforms with tiny changes, CPUs to 9000 series with a smidge more performance, and as of this week, they've just refreshed the genuinely awesome 9800X3D with a higher clock speed on a better binned chip. Not exactly the gold standard for innovation now, is it? To be fair, we genuinely have had some fantastic games over the last few months, and this year looks set to have some crackers, with a brand new Bond game and a new refresh. Oh no. It's happening to games too, of the original Tomb Raider, but to be fair, this looks awesome in the trailer and I genuinely can't wait to play it. And I think this is just my counter really to a lot of the doom and gloom, because obviously I'm an enthusiast, right? I love cutting edge. I really want to be at the forefront of what's going on. It's my hobby. I imagine it will be until not the end of time, but the end of my time. What I'm trying to say is that I think it's worth celebrating the fact that you don't necessarily need to upgrade your rig, because as long as you've got something that's like been built in the last 5 years or so, actually most games still work really well. We'd hope that there's more optimization with like Unreal 5 and stuttering and certain things, and obviously this constant push for ray tracing doesn't seem to be helping things. But actually, there's not really any need to spend, you know, £2,000–3,000 or dollars on a gaming PC, because especially if you've bought one in the last couple of years, that's going to last you for a very long period of time. And game developers, and obviously all the optimization now because consoles are quite similar to PCs, it does mean that actually compared to what we used to get, I think we're in a pretty good place when it comes to games. Ultimately, any well-optimized game in combination with DLSS, FSR and XeSS have allowed most modest systems to play most games at high resolutions and crucially at high frame rates with low latency. And ray tracing aside, the only thing really demanding CPU and GPU upgrades right now are high refresh monitors. I mean, take Arc Raiders for instance. I tested this a few weeks ago. It's a stunning looking game. I've started playing it personally, but it works really well on all of the systems that I've tested so far. In fact, let's think about this for a second. Assuming we already have a gaming PC, if you were going to choose a component to get massively overpriced, you'd probably pick a power supply. But after that, RAM probably wouldn't be that far off your list, because as long as you do have enough RAM, and realistically for most systems 32GB is the sweet spot. If you've got 16 you can certainly make it work. There's some games, some instances, if you've got loads of applications where obviously it's going to prove a problem, but actually as long as you've bought RAM in the last few years, again doesn't help you if you haven't, but if you've bought RAM in the last few years, you're probably not going to be upgrading your RAM for 3, 4, 5 years anyway. Whereas if it was like CPUs that were getting overpriced or graphics cards, that might happen, that's arguably a lot more of a problem. And because most people probably don't need to touch their gaming PC, the real upgrade that I recommend almost everyone does in 2026 is to finally get a high-end, high refresh rate monitor. And for me, I'd say that 2026 has got to be the year of OLED, as finally we now have a complete lineup of displays. At the more affordable luxury end, we have the awesome 1440p 240Hz QD OLED. It's not cheap, but it's not crazy expensive, bringing OLED potentially to the masses. In the mid-range, we have the 4K True Black Glossy from ASUS, and now we have this super bright next generation OLEDs in both 1440p, ultra-wide and 4K. Oh, and this is the year that I'm probably going to get my wallet out and upgrade personally, as there's the 39-inch 5K ultra-wide with a tandem OLED panel from LG. I've already made a full explainer and buying guide all about OLED though. You can find this video in the top right corner of your screen, or just check out all of our recommendations in the description down below. And ultimately, as someone famous once said, the most complex problems often have the most simple solutions. Or maybe I've just been watching too much Traitors from last night. UK one, if you haven't watched it, it's amazing. Get on it. And that is essentially just that I think PC gaming just naturally has vintage years, and 2025 and 2026 probably aren't going to be considered vintage years. They've not been fantastic, it's not a great start. Things could get better, they could get worse. But when you kind of look back over the last couple of decades really of PC gaming, there's definitely been times it's been fantastic to be involved in PC gaming, and there's been times it's just been really difficult to get involved. And as someone that's been doing this channel since 2012, I think now, so long ago, I forget when I started it, I've seen a lot of these things. Have I seen anything as bad as this when it comes to RAM pricing? No, but we've had loads of shortages, loads of like crazy prices, and ultimately, if you are a PC gamer and you don't need to upgrade your rig, then the games are still going to come out. I mean, we've seen game developers hit by like all of the COVID stuff, right? And games kept getting delayed. We had that little bit of a gap, and that seems to be improving now. So it's very up and down. And the best thing I can say really is that whilst this year might not be considered vintage, there's no reason that next year couldn't be. There's no reason that the year after that couldn't be. We don't know. This is ultimately the landscape. And when you compare this to 2012, when I first got started, it's so much better than it was. I mean, my first rig cost me roughly £1,100. That's about £1,650 today. And the landscape is just so much more rewarding now than it was back then. Games used to be terribly ported to PC, yes, much worse than today, despite the fact that they're not perfect now. Games were hard to run even at 1080p, and there was no Discord and no crossplay. I had to say bye-bye to all of my console friends and make a new one. Make new ones. Today, we have so many ways to customize your PC, so many different setup options, cloud saves across devices, PlayStation and Xbox exclusives on PC, not to mention that guy that helps you build PCs every week, quickly and easily. I heard he hates radiators though. I guess my point is, and what I'm trying to say is that even in this time of doom and gloom, I think that as an ecosystem, PC gaming still has a lot going for it, and there is a lot more to PC gaming than just the price of RAM. Obviously, this doesn't help you if you need to buy some RAM, you need to buy an SSD. This is just crap, and the pricing inflation just needs to stop. If you are in this camp and you do need to buy RAM right now, then I'd say the best bet is probably to go for DDR4, as it's a fair bit cheaper, and then reuse your existing motherboard for a little bit longer, or see if you can nab yourself a bargain for an Intel 12th, 13th or 14th generation chip with a DDR4 compatible motherboard. Hopefully though, you're not stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you're still just enjoying everything that PC gaming has to offer. It's a rich ecosystem of friendly people, great games and decent platforms, with games that are usually a fair bit cheaper than their console counterparts. Not to mention that whilst RAM might be off the table, there are still loads of great deals on monitors, motherboards, CPUs and more. PC upgrades as a whole are still very viable. And of course, let's not forget that it is only the start of 2026. There's a lot more to come, and this could be the best year PC gaming has ever had. It almost certainly won't be. But we've got strong launches hopefully coming. We've got brand new CPUs, most importantly really, from both Intel and AMD later in the year. Definitely very excited for Intel to see if they can turn things around, not with their refresh of Core Ultra, but proper next generation. And obviously, for all we know, the 10900X3D could be everything that we need, because whilst most people are not buying 5090s, 5090s and 5080s are quite often bottlenecked by CPUs in a fair few games. So we do need better CPUs, and fundamentally we need better graphics cards to bring some of that strong performance down the stack so it becomes more affordable for everyone. So there is some exciting stuff to come. Have some faith. Doesn't help you if you need RAM, but ultimately, if your choice is being very miserable or less miserable, I choose less miserable every time. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Smash the like button if you've enjoyed this. Get yourself subscribed. Let us know your thoughts on the whole RAM crisis and everything that's going on down in the comment section below. Do you think this video was helpful? Has it perked you up? Or do you think I'm way off the mark? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so let us know. And if you do want to check out our monitor buying guide, we'll leave that link down below, along with a link to all of our favorite OLED monitors. They genuinely are a fantastic use of your cash.
And while you're down there, why not bask in the power of Corsair's RM 2025 series? With their fully modular design for cleaner wiring, native 600-watt ATX 3.1 power cable, and white or black color scheme, these PSUs mean business. They're Cybernetics Gold certified for efficiency, feature a zero fan mode for silent operation at low loads, and also come fitted with industrial grade capacitors for long-lasting performance. Level up your rig today with a link down below.
But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.